Okay. All right. Well, hello and welcome to this special live stream with me, David Connolly. And if ever there was a podcast or a video that I knew I was going to take down in the future, then this could be it. Because it's ridiculous, right? The title of this one is DC Teaches Self Defense, and I am DC. Some of you who know me are saying to yourselves, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is like Stan Laurel teaches boxing or something. It's absurd. There is nothing whatsoever about my demeanour that is, let's say, geared for violence or anything like that. Quite clearly, there's nothing intimidating. Um, I have skinny little arms. Would you like to see my skinny little arms? I mean, these are not meant for punching or grappling people. Um, I'm not even very tall. I'm only 5'8". And I want to assure everybody that I haven't changed personality, nor have I become delusional. I know exactly where I stand on this front. But nevertheless, the fact of the matter is that if we are living on the planet Earth, from time to time, perhaps through no fault of our own, we do find ourselves in a situation where we have to perhaps engage, dare I say the phrase, defend yourself. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, I'm really determined to, for the record, by the way, I should say a little bit about my background. I have no criminal record. I'm not some great violent guy. I don't have much to tell in terms of winning fights or anything. Maybe we can talk about a couple of things that happened, but nothing worth bragging about. Again, I'm an IT guy, okay? But it's something that I have basically had to figure out. Maybe it's because of the. I'm not going to pretend I'm from a rough neighbourhood. I'm not. But the fact of the matter is that I have had encounters. In fact, I had one today, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Actually, about an hour ago, believe it or not. And I'll tell you all about that. And um, I'm not going to be focusing so much on the, you know, here's how to punch and here's how to kick or do this or that or whatever. I'm far more interested in the psychology of it. And if you will, let's call it the art of scientific street fighting. I picked that up, by the way, from Tommy Carruthers. He's a well known martial arts guy. You can look him up. And I recorded and produced 115 videos with him a number of years back. And I learned a lot of the ideas around a martial art called Jeet Kune Do. But more than that, hello, wee Coco. More than that, I have my Genghis Khan statue in the corner, and it's just something that I've somehow ended up figuring out just through life. And I think that um, I've actually taken notes for this. Hello to you, Zen Dog, who says, David, I hope you are good. Thank you, Zen Dog. New name. Ding, 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 ding. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I've actually written some notes here in a sort of 5-point checklist. And what I'm going to be doing, hello to you, Robel. It's been a long time. How are you doing, my friend? Let me let Coco out. Hold on. Coco. All right, all right. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the things that have happened as of late, or maybe, well, within the last hour or two, if that's recent enough. And I'm going to describe these situations, and then I'm going to give you an analysis of what happened. Now, when I describe this, I am going to sound like a nutcase. I'm going to sound like a thug, and there will be foul language. There has to be. It's one of these situations where there's just no avoiding it, okay? We'll try and keep it to a minimum. I am a gentleman. But nevertheless, I think it's important that people understand this, because anybody who watches these types of exchanges would be forgiven for thinking that I'm a mindless nutcase. But it's actually all just a big show. That's right. So, I'll tell you about what happened tonight. Actually, it wasn't a very, no punches were thrown or anything. But I think it really highlights the philosophy, if you will, of the self-defense method that I have pioneered. And I'll tell you what happened, okay? So, I was at Sainsbury's with my mum, which I haven't done for a long time, but I was happy to do that. And I waited outside, said, give me a phone when you get to the exit. And eventually she phoned, says, I'm at the exit. I says, I'll be there in a minute. And as I pulled up to the exit, my mum's standing there with a trolley, and bags. And my mum came over and put the bags in the car. And then, of course, she's left the trolley at the entrance. Being the role model of respectful behaviour that she is, she says, hang on, I better put the trolley away. I said, fine, and I'm waiting. And as I go back to the car, oh, and by the way, her hat blew off in the wind, which is important as well. She says, my hat blew off. So I was like, okay, you put the trolley back, I'll find the hat. So I run after this hat that has blown away. And we're waiting. And then when I came back to the spot, there was this taxi that had parked right on the other side facing the other direction, but on double yellow lines. And the guy in the taxi was loading stuff on and all of that. And the taxi driver guy looked at me and he said something like, you irresponsible, selfish thing, whatever, some insult. Now, this is where I have to go into my Academy Award-winning performance, so you may wish to turn the volume down if that's unacceptable. But I said to the gentleman, some sort of retort, and he had said, oh yeah, that was what I said. I said, look, I says, you're the one who has parked on the double yellow lines, because we were creating a blockage in the road, as it were, I said, you're the one who's parked in the double yellow lines. And the taxi driver guy, and he was outside the taxi loading bags and stuff, he said to me, I said, listen, I am here picking up somebody with 2 false knees. You are not. You're the guy on the double yellow lines. I'm not. And then the guy said, I'm going to knock you out. This was an interesting point of the conversation. And I'm going to analyse it. We'll analyse the whole situation in a minute, but I'll tell you what happened outwardly, and it'll all sound funny and stupid and everything. But when he said, I'm going to knock you out, I actually gave him a Clint Eastwood quote. I said, make my day. And he kind of stood his ground, and there was a little bit of and eventually my mum got back to the car, thankfully, because I'm now at the car standing at the door thinking, I wish she'd hurry up, My mum got back to the car, she got in her side, and the guy's there, and by now there's a big crowd watching. And the guy was taller than me, by the way, but I noticed that he had a little bit of a belly on him, a little bit of a belly. And so I said to him, in my greatest Glasgow nutcase voice, I said to the gentleman, Um, I think it was, don't you ever threaten me with violence again, you podgy fuck, because it will not end well for you. No, don't you threaten me with violence again, because it won't end well for you, you podgy fuck. That was what I said. Oh, no, it was you podgy little fuck. I said, don't you threaten me with violence, you podgy little fuck. And there's a big crowd, and the guy, and he went away. And I got in the car, and that was it. And I drove off. You know, that was pretty much the end of the excursion. You know, so that was it. It wasn't really a big deal. Now I can tell you about times where it went a little bit beyond that. But what I really want to do is give you an explanation of what's going on under the surface here, because there is a method to the madness. And there is a sort of philosophy. Hello to you, H, says Teachers David. Ahoy, Stefan, he's here. So I'm going to explain what's going on under the surface, because it's kind of interesting, and it's something that perhaps you'll find useful, okay? So believe it or not, even though outwardly people are saying, "You fucking are, you fucking are, you fucking are," right, that's what people see. The truth of the matter is, hello to you, Branislav. Ahoy to you. Ahoy. So anyway, it looks like this is a nutcase, and, you know, all of that. But believe it or not, there is a 5-step process that is now being carried out. And I'm going to give you the 5-step process. This really is the art of self-defense according to DC. Do this, and I can't guarantee you'll be safe, but either you'll be safe or you'll go down in a blaze of glory. Step 1. The great Jedi Master Yoda said, "Named must your fears be, before banish them you can." So the first step of any violent or potential violent engagement is to prepare. To prepare mentally. And I know that this is going to sound nuts, but you ask yourself a question. And the question is, and I'm asking this immediately, and the question is, do I accept this person as the gatekeeper? Now, nobody watching this is intimidated by me, quite rightly so. If I got in a boxing match, you'd all probably whoop me. But hear my philosophy out, because out there, it's like Rambo said, in town you're the law, but out here it's me. So the philosophy is, I'm saying to the opponent, do I accept you as the gatekeeper? What does that mean? It means, if I'm going to die here, and the last thing that I see on this planet is this dipshit over here dancing over me, and I'm lying, and it's my last breath, and I'm checking, and this is how it all ends. Everything I've got, everything I'm gonna get, everything, it ends here. And is this the guy who's gonna give me the express ticket to heaven or wherever else it may be that I'm going? Is this the gatekeeper? Do I accept this person as the gatekeeper? Now, there's a number of different things that can help you to answer that question. If the guy looks like Brock frigging Lesnar, Brock Lesnar's a big old wrestler, about 7 foot tall, I would have a hard time accepting Brock Lesnar as the gatekeeper. Because if I'm dying my last breath, and I'm like, oh, geez, I'm getting killed by Brock Lesnar. I would feel like a frigging idiot because I've entered into an arena where, quite frankly, I've got very slim chances of winning. So I'm not going to be going up to Brock Lesnar and saying, "Hoo." Instead, I'm going to say, "I'm sorry, Mr. Lesnar. Have a nice day." And that's it. I will not accept Brock Lesnar as the gatekeeper. But when I saw that taxi driver tonight, he may have been bigger than me. He may, to some of you folks, have been scary and everything. I'm sure he was poorly educated. But at that moment, I realised that yes, I accept this gentleman as the gatekeeper. And if I die here, my final thought to that person will be, thank you. Thank you. Truth of the matter is, kind of getting a bit bored anyway. Thank you for helping me through the express lane. Thank you for the shortcut. It's perfect. Let us be comrades in death. I am fucking ready to lay my life in front of you. Yes, I accept you as the gatekeeper. This is the first thought. So I've now looked at the worst possible scenario and I'm okay with it. Now, by the way, there's something else even before this. Even before this that we're going to be asking ourselves, and that is this within the rules of engagement? Because there's only 3 reasons why you would engage with someone in a self-defense situation. The first reason is to defend yourself. So, somebody attacks you and they're physically attacking you, you absolutely have the right to defend yourself. I think that's pretty straightforward. The second circumstance where you have permission is coming to the assistance of someone else. Maybe a family member in distress. Maybe you've seen somebody being attacked. Maybe somebody's being raped in an alleyway or something. This falls within the remit of acceptable intervention. What is the third scenario where it's acceptable? Anybody know? What's the third scenario where it's acceptable to engage? So we've gone over defend yourself. We've gone over come to the assistance of somebody in distress. What is the third scenario? Anybody? Anybody? Well, let me tell you the answer. It's ahoy to you. Dark Sanctuary Cinema. What an interesting name. I'll have a look at that channel later on. Anybody know what the third scenario is? The third scenario? Anyone? Maybe not. There's a delay. The third reason why you may wish to or choose to engage with somebody is to do society a big favour. To do a big old favour for everybody else. And forgive me if I sound a little bit macho when I say this, but I think that society has become far too pussified lately. And I'm sick of seeing people misbehaving and on trains and so on and just harassing. I dropped somebody, I never dropped, correction. I met somebody who dropped off somebody at the cinema the other day, young Hannah. She'd been going to the cinema with her friends, a little Christmas night out. And some dipshits in the background, little team of teenagers, took it upon themselves to start throwing things at Hannah and her friends. that type of situation is not really somebody being attacked or assaulted as such. But thank heavens for guys like me. Because if I see that kind of thing happening and I'm there, I'm going to engage. I am ready to die for those people. If I walk past and I see somebody burgling your home or something like that, I'm probably going to engage. If I'm being smart, I'll phone the police. But whatever happens, I'm not accepting it. So the third reason why we engage, and some of you folks maybe can't handle this, maybe you're not on this level, it is to do a huge big old favour for society. You take that taxi driver tonight, about 2 hours ago, there was a taxi driver in Glasgow who thought it was acceptable to park on a double yellow line, and then he thought it was acceptable to threaten to knock me out. In the end, what did he get? A big old crowd of people and me saying to him, do not threaten to knock me out ever again. It will not end well for you, you podgy fuck. That's not a good ending for him. He's now driving around going, oh man, I'm a podgy. I'm going to join the gym. Right? The next time he meets someone and decides, am I going to threaten to knock him out? Just maybe, maybe not, but just maybe he won't. So these are the three things. Now, I'm only on step one. It's a 5-step process. I'll speed this up. So we are preparing for the worst eventuality. We're taking the advice of Yoda. Do you accept this person as the gatekeeper? I'm not going to accept Brock Lesnar. I'm not going to accept a team of thugs or somebody with a gun. I don't enter any arena unless I'm going to win. But in the case of Taxi Driver Guy, I'm okay with it. If I die tonight, if my last thing I see is the taxi driver, that's fine. I accept it. Next thing, does this fit within the remit? Are we defending ourselves? Are we coming to the aid of someone else who's being attacked? Or are we doing a huge favour for society? Tonight I did a huge favour for society because there's one less asshole as far as the universe goes. And I think you're very welcome, society. You're very welcome indeed. Now, the next thing is where we get a little bit more into the actual nitty gritty of the self-defense situation. And that is where we mentally prepare for the mechanics. Now, Zen Dog, ahoy to you, says to show people we need to start standing up. I'm with you on that, DC. Thank you very much. Can everybody just type a Z or a Z, whatever you call it, for Zen Dog, and let's have a moment of unity, because I'm tired of living in this fucking pussified nation where we sit back and watch people just behaving outrageously, watch people disturbing property and bullying and misbehaving. Thank you, Zen Dog. And hello to Dodger, just noticed you. Now, we're on step 2. I'm talking about mentally, let's say, rehearsing. But this time it's the mechanics. We've done the philosophy. Now, I don't want to get too entrenched in here's how to punch and here's how to kick. What I will say, can you see my screen? Can you see my screen, studio? I do not think that you can see my screen. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. There's a book that covers it all. It's the Bruce Lee Fighting Method book, 2nd edition. Not the 1st edition, 3rd, 4th. There's about 5 of them. It's the 2nd edition, the blue book. Everything you need to know is in there. And there's actually only 3 moves that you need. 3 moves. And you'll be fine. Yeah, it says that you saw the screen, but I don't think it was showing you an up-to-date screen. There's challenges with this layout. Let me just show you. Let's see if we can do this here. If I do, let's have a look here. Screen capture. That looks like a screen capture, but I think that's more like it. Okay, I think you can see my screen now. Can you see this here? Okay, can you see this book, this blue book? And again, there's several volumes, but the second volume is the one that you want. Okay, this is straight from Tommy Carruthers, and I've read it. And I don't want to go into throwing throwing punches and teaching. It's sort of absurd, you know. I'm a little short IT guy. It's ridiculous. But what I will say, thank you very much, thank you very much. What I will say is that when it comes to street fighting, and I'm talking about the science of street fighting, I hope you appreciate my demeanor here, right? 99% of whomever gets the victory is down to who has the element of surprise. So I'll give you an example. And again, it's going to sound a little bit macho. I'm not, again, skinny little arms, short, out of shape. I'm not intimidating or anything. I'm trying to give you useful information, right? I figured out a long time ago that the art of surprise was everything. And I made this set of rules up that have kept me and others safe through the years. And I'll give you an example. I was coming out of a pub in Glasgow called McSorley's. You can look it up. It's in Jamaica Streets, right in the city centre. I came out of that place one time about midnight, and I had a female companion with me. And bizarrely, this thug appeared from the shadows. And completely strangely, he actually went for the female companion. And he said that great intellectual opener that we're all familiar with. He said, "What are you looking at?" And she says, "Nothing," or whatever. It was a very weird thing. My attention must have been distracted. I think I was in a band and unloading things or something. But I turned round and she's got this guy, "What are you looking at?" And I moved over and I said to the gentleman, "Listen, whatever it is, we apologise and we don't want any trouble." And the guy's going, "You want something?" And this guy was not up for negotiation. Again, this was Jamaica Street, Saturday night. And what happened was really interesting because I had rehearsed this probably 1,000 times in my mind before I even met the guy. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I knew exactly how each little node could pan out, the whole thing. And so I remember I was engaging with the guy speaking, and I was Clark Kent, and I'm holding my hands up. I'm like, "Look, we really apologise. I hope you've had a, you know, we hope you've had a good evening, and we really don't want any trouble." And I'm just the nicest guy in the world. Unfortunately, though, sometimes that stuff does not work. So what do? Well, I had rehearsed this a gazillion times. I knew exactly what to do. I stood a certain distance away. So as I'm speaking, I'm the nicest guy in the world. "Look, we're really, are you okay? Please, we don't mean any trouble. Anything. Can I buy you a drink? Anything at all. You're the nicest, most humble guy in the world." But in my mind, I'm drawing a line in the ground. And that line is just beyond his reach. So if he's pulling out a knife or punching or kicking, he's just going to miss me. So he's just out of range. I don't know, maybe 6 foot or something like that. And I'm the nicest guy in the world. And the rule is, I am the most submissive, mild mannered, nice guy in the universe as long as this person does not cross this line. I apologise, how okay, everything okay, blah, blah, blah. And then the guy goes, and he done it, and he crossed the line. Now, there's not a literal line, but in my mind, he crossed the line. The moment he crossed that line, game on. In that particular case, I said that there were three moves that will probably, help you out 90% of situations. And I used two of the three moves. So when he came across the line, I used the straight blast. You can call this the locomotion if you want. It's where you go like a train, you see? So I went and forward. They're not very powerful. I'm not a strong guy. I'm not some thug or some violent guy, but I knew what to do. So I did a sequence like this, and the guy goes like that. And then I used another technique that I learned straight from Tommy Carruthers himself. It's where you go high, low, high, low. Because sometimes if you hit somebody up high, they do that and you can't connect. So at the point when he was doing that, I then executed the second of the three recommended moves, and that is the low level side kick to the knee. At that point, you went, and then he kind of went back, grab, and you can hear from my energy that I'm not making this up. He then kind of went back, and then I grabbed his throat actually, and assisted him to the ground. And I remember he was on the ground like, "Ugh," and I was over him like this, and it was the concrete, And I had one of those beautiful Hollywood moments where it was like, and I never did it, and that was it. I dusted myself off. I got in the car and I got right out of there. And I remember that when I went out, shitty car I was in had a broken clutch. So I looked in the mirror and I could see him getting up like the Terminator movie and coming after and chasing the car. I had to go through a red light, but I went through a red light and I went straight to the police station. I told the police everything that happened. The cop guy wrote it all down. And when I'd finished, and I said, look, I'm just letting you know that I went through this light. I know there's cameras in the area. This is what happened. And the cop wrote it all down. And then he did that. Actually, he didn't throw it away, but it would have been good symbolism. But he says, look, you haven't done anything wrong. Thanks for contacting us. It's textbook self-defense. Have a nice evening. So the reason why that worked, the reason why I was able to get out of that is because I had rehearsed that situation a million times. I knew exactly what I was going to do if he stepped in here, if he said that, if he pulled out a knife, everything. I had rehearsed every single situation. There's nothing intimidating about this guy, but I had rehearsed the whole thing. And again, I would recommend, if you really want to get into the nuts and bolts, don't learn from me. This is the book that you want, okay? And I was lucky, of course, because I had that contact that I've mentioned already. Now, a couple of other little things I'll say very quickly. Point 3 in my 5-point plan is to move. Do me a favor right now. If you are watching, throw a punch. Right, do it right now. I don't worry. I can see. I can see with my mind. Go ahead. Right now, couple of questions. How does that feel? Does it feel really awkward, like some, I don't know, old fogey running for the bus, and they're like, man, I forget what it feels like to run? Does it feel weird? And also, when you punched, how did you punch? Did you just go like that? Did you put your body behind it? And did you cover yourself? I bet most of you probably never. And so my third tip is just get in the habit of always being in touch with these movements. I know it sounds crazy. Not a violent guy. I'm a little mild-mannered dude. But from time to time, practice little things like footwork, even just the occasional low-level side kick. Visualize, practice having your guard up when you punch and so on. Just stay in touch with it. I'm not saying join a martial arts club or anything or become a cage fighter, but just keep in touch with these movements so that if the worst should happen, they're not totally alien and you do that and your back goes or something. That would be my third tip. Fourth one I've kind of already covered. Don't make the same mistake as NATO and the same mistake as, you know, as dare I say, the West lately. Don't go into any confrontation unless you have a clear exit strategy. So let's assume that, taxi driver guy's on the deck and everything's it's all chaos and everything. How does that end? Are you going to go to the police like I did? Are you going to go into the shop? How are you going to get out of there? Have a frigging exit strategy and plan it in advance, 6 months in advance. And then point number 5, and this is the one that I think is most interesting of all, is when the whole thing is over, you then have an analysis where you evaluate what happened and you say, what could I have done better? How did it happen in the first place? And how can we make sure these types of things never happen ever again? The analysis phase. So take tonight, for example, with our taxi driver friend, the gatekeeper, for whom I was willing to die. The question I have for you, and I wonder if anyone in the room can answer this. Why did the taxi driver dipshit threaten to knock me out? Anyone in the room, leave a comment. I will not be offended. Somebody says, have I been punched in the face? Look, I've got a scar. God, I've got wrinkles as well. I've got a scar. Yeah, yeah, I've been punched in the face. Um, I was a member of a boxing club actually one time when I was really young for a couple of years, and I was really rubbish at boxing, but I became really good at being punched in the face. I had a talent for it. In fact, it was remarkable. So I have been punched in the face. Being punched in the face is very similar to the feeling you get when you jump in a swimming pool and water goes up your nose. It's a very similar feeling. And yeah. So anyway, why did the taxi driver threaten me with violence tonight? Let's do a real post analysis, right? And you talk about what you did right, you talk about what you did wrong, right? So, why did somebody threaten me tonight? If you write because you look like a frigging dweeb, I will not be offended. I won't be offended at all. It's fine. Why do you think he did it? Yeah, Brainyslav says, I think the taxi driver's a typical bully, probably thought he can take you easily. Typical bully mentality. And that's a fantastic answer. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Anyone else? Why did he decide to threaten to knock me out? Hmm? Anyone? He expected to. I can't read it because I've got a little heart shape in the way get paid. Because of your deviated septum. Well, I'll Google that one. Insecure, punching down. Yep, thought he could get away with it. Okay, yeah, that's all fine. So there's nothing physically intimidating about me, nor is there any great revelation that I'm a fifth Dan and who flung dung or anything. So the reason why the taxi driver decided that he thought it was an acceptable idea to knock me out is because at that moment, a sort of assessment happened, you know, and it's a two-way assessment. I'm looking at him and I'm saying, do I accept this person as the gatekeeper? And he's looking at me and thinking, can I whoop this guy? He looked at me and thought, I'm going to threaten to knock out this little shithead with the deviated septum, whatever the fuck that means. So clearly that was what the guy thought. Now, why did he think that? To anybody who has been watching more than one of these live streams, I'm wearing the same clothes. Okay? Have a look at me. Why did that happen today, of all days? This is going to blow your frigging mind. Why did that happen? Now, of course, we could say because I was in the situation and all of that. Of course, we must avoid situations where we're likely to entangle with these knuckle draggers. But there's something else about me. Look at me. I'm not going to be offended. I promise I won't be offended. Deviated septum, whatever. I don't care. What was it about me on this day that made that guy do that? This is the analysis. Anyone? Well, let's have a look. We've thought he could get away with it, punching down, knew DC wouldn't do anything, build up of stress, and then anything will cause an outburst. Yep. Dodger here says maybe the taxi driver expected to get paid. Well, I wasn't the customer. You realise I'm a bit confused with that. Hope DC has a sense of humour. He never told us the third secret move. The third secret move is the straight lead. Straight lead, which is leading with your strong side. I'll let you read up on it. I'm very short. Brainislav says I'm very short. I'm only 5'8". Nothing intimidating about this dude. I'm short, you know. That's for sure. Okay. Anyway, frustration. He probably saw you in a suit. Okay. Thought you're loaded with money. Yeah, the Lord wanted to test you and so on. Quite a collection of bans. Right, okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not going to ban anyone here. The energy's really good today, and I appreciate the comments. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the person who said that about the suit, who was that? Brain is Lav. He probably saw you in a suit. 3 cheers. That's what happened. It was the suit. Now, of course, everything else is valid, the stress and the situation and blah, 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 blah. But it was the suit. And this brings me on to a really key point, because there was actually 2 mistakes that I made, right? But the first one was the suit. I've done a few videos lately where I've spoken about the sort of dress like the equalizer thing that I've been doing this last 6 months, and how it has been an incredible journey, and it's full of ups and downs, but I love it, you know? And I dress like this 7 days a week, okay? But it's the suit. The thing is, I dress like this 7 days a week. What is it that's different about this suit? Now we're really getting to the nitty gritty. What is it about this suit? Today, this is me. I am Victim DC. What is it about this suit or this demeanour that is different from most ordinary days? You can have a look at my previous live streams if you want to know. Get a little clue. See if you can see. I wonder how observant you are. Now, this is really interesting to me. Okay. There's a big old delay. So I'm going to tell you what the answer is. When you dress in a shirt and tie and with a suit, Brains Lab says the suit looks more loyal, like fancy jacket, somebody in administration, politics, no pocket watch. H. I like it. That son of a gun, H. Congratulations, you got the answer. No pocket watch. This is a velvet coat here. Velvet. It was my Lady Wonder wench got me this as a gift, actually. I think it's a little bit too big, but let's not worry about that, right? But it's velvet, and it doesn't have any little slits here or anything, and I can't put in my friggin' pocket watch. So what do? Well, you chuck this on and so on, but it doesn't quite cut it. And here's the problem, folks. when you wear a shirt and tie and a suit or whatever, do you realize that you are wearing the uniform of an office bod? You are wearing the uniform of a frigging telesales rep. And by the way, I'm no disrespect to telesales people. I have my friends work in telesales. They make the lights go on at night and I respect them. But I'm just saying it because it rolls off the tongue, right? But a suit with a shirt and tie is actually the uniform of a fucking shit kicker. That's a fact. And some of you folks are on the path, and I've even looked at one or two of you before. I've looked at one or two of you who have channels, and I've looked at the way you've dressed. I've seen one or two little profile pictures and stuff, and you're all fucking it up because you're sitting wearing, some of you with an expensive suit, much more expensive than mine. You probably have it fits nicer and everything, and you feel so great, and you're like, oh, this is great. And all you have really done is made yourself look like a fucking office bod. That is the reason why he engaged. It was actually the pocket watch. And so this brings us on to, and there were two mistakes that I made tonight, by the way. That was the first one. But it was the pocket watch. And it brings us back to the topic of style and the vibe that we are sending out, the demeanor and the reasons why we're doing this in the first place. There's a whole lot of style channels and all of that stuff on YouTube. But I don't think there's anybody talking about this the way that we're talking about it. Because I'm not here teaching people how to get laid. So you have to go to somewhere else for that. I'm here trying to come up with something that might help us all to get ahead in life, right? Would that be okay? Would that be okay? Good. So, we don't want to dress like a fucking office bod. When you dress and you go out there, there has to be something that tells people, I am somebody. Do not fuck with me. I am somebody. Now, usually, I'll have a pocket watch on. Sometimes I might even have a little handkerchief like this, right? But something. Tonight I was caught off guard. I never really had anything apart from a tie clip. And that whole day, you would be amazed. The whole day I was attracting shit. I headed into one of the shops and the security guard was looking at me. And I'm like, this never happens to me. And he was kind of following me around. And I says to the security guard guy, says, could you tell me where the Christmas cards are? And he says, no, I'm security. Go talk to a staff member. And I was like, holy shit, that never happens. And I spent the whole day walking about and people just looking through me and being rude to me and everything. And it was the whole day and everything. And I was like, what the hell am I doing differently today? And I'm telling you, man, it's the accessories. The accessories are essential. Without the accessories, and I am without the accessories, it's like Superman without the ability to fly. Without his, I don't know if the story is that the kryptonite helps him or hinders him, but please do fit kryptonite into the story or the analogy in some way that it would be applicable. So that was what it was tonight. Therefore, it brings us back to what I was speaking about the other day. Accessorizing is absolutely essential. Those of you who are on the path, you have to get serious about this stuff. So let's do it here. Let's fix this straight away. Let's fix this right now. So what I can tell you folks, this is the bling box. You've seen it before. We've got a few things here, some of which have never seen the light of day, cufflinks and stuff like that. Now, do you see these little... Okay, I'll show you some of the things we've got, right? Do you see these little stud things here? I picked these up on eBay and it was £3 for about 100 of them, believe it or not. I think arts and crafts people are into stuff like that, you know? And it's totally taken from the Equalizer TV show, by the way. Everything I do is based on the Equalizer. And I studied how he was dressing because he does this, right? Let's look at the Equalizer and I'll show you what I mean, actually. So here we go. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen? Edward Woodward Equalizer. Right. So have a look at how the Equalizer dresses. Look, there he is right there. What do you see? Let's keep on going. Look, look. Here he is. This is the vibe. This is the vibe. I wish you were here and we could watch some of the Equalizer together and I could show you this stuff because it's absolutely mind-blowing. But let me zoom you in. Now, it's a very blurred picture, but what do you see? What's going on there? Well, he's got a handkerchief. He's actually got a pocket watch and he's got a little stud. I've had to watch a whole lot of videos to figure this stuff out, and I cannot find anyone else doing this, right? Here it is here again, right? This is it. This is it. And I've studied it so much. Speaking of studs, let's start with the studs and talk about these in detail. So what he's wearing is a little stud there. And by the way, I can tell you stuff here that will blow your frigging mind. My car, I have a really cool car. It's not an expensive one, but it's a very cool one. I always wanted a car with a couch on the front so that I could have 3 people sitting on the front, and I have that. Unfortunately, they don't make these cars anymore, so when it has an issue, well, it's a problem. And just 2 months ago, my car had a Duff battery, it had warning lights, the starter motor wasn't turning. When you started the engine and unplugged it, the engine kept going. It drove at 10 miles an hour and it wouldn't start and a few other things. It was just, it was done. I handed that into a garage over in Ibrox. And the guy's like, well, what's wrong with the car? And I told him, and it's a list as long as your arm. And I'd said, you know, to the guy when I was there, look, if it's unfixable, that's fine. And as I was talking to the guy, Ian is his name. As I'm talking to the guy, I could see him looking at me. And you could see that look because I had my full Equalizer gear. And I could see him looking. And you could see him kind of going, what the fuck's that? Do you know what I mean? But he never said anything. But I could see him kind of looking like, what the fuck is that? And I went about my business. That was it. Eventually, I got that whole thing fixed. The car is now brilliant. It's perfect. It's beautiful. Do you know how much he charged me to fix that car? Let me tell you. It should have been thousands. But what he did is he paid 175 for a new battery. 175 smackers, that's just for a new battery. Then he did all of the rewiring. He fixed the starter motor, he fixed the engine fault, fixed a gazillion other things, got his friend to do some work on the electrics, and he charged me 30 quid. He charged me 30 quid, 30. That is the kind of thing that happens when you get this right. Because as I said just yesterday, it's like I'm trying not, the last thing we need is another frigging conspiracy theory. But it's almost like a sort of secret code. You know what I mean? And I'm going to give you some guidance for how we activate this type of magic so that life becomes easier. You don't have taxi drivers threatening to knock you out. So you can buy a bunch of this stuff. I had about 100 of these for about £3 on eBay. Well, you can look it up yourself. Now, what you want to do is find a little stud or a badge or something with some kind of emblem that means something to you. And some of you thinking, well, nothing means it to me or whatever, or you can't think of anything. Fine. But what could mean something to you? What could, you see, this is the nice thing about life. You get to decide what is sacred. It's your choice. Nobody can interfere with that, right? You have the right. And so let me see if I can guide you through this, right? So I've got a little bunch of studs, and let me just walk you through a few of these, right? So here's one I just picked up. This looks like a little rabbit here. I think these are for arts and crafts people. Now, can you make a little rabbit fit into your life? Probably not. I hope I've not got dirty fingers. I may have, because I've been out and about. Anyway, maybe not. Um, how about, actually, do you know why I've got dirty fingers? I might have, this hand's clean and this hand's not. It's because I got these friggin' white patches, and I've been trying to put fake tan over them to hide them, and it's just not working. So forgive me. That's what it is, in case you're wondering. Um, so we're looking for how about a little pearl thing? Nah, maybe not. A little bit weak. Okay, so let's keep on looking. Here we've got a little bow tie. Probably not. Now let's see if we can get something cool here. All right, let's see. Hold on a second. So I'm looking for some type of symbol that could send out. How about a little happy face? Probably not. Okay, let's see what we got here. Um, Gee, man, I've got a bunch of duffers here, I'll tell you that. Uh, okay. So these are really duff, actually. Let me show you some of the ones that I've used. Right. Okay. Couple of seconds. So if you take this one here, for example, here we've got just a little crystal. That's all it is. And nobody will even be able to see that. I mean, it's tiny. At a distance, nobody will see that. But you chuck that on, and it's a little sparkle. It's just a little, and all it's doing is it's saying, look, I'm not a friggin' shit kicker. That's a perfect thing to have. I'll show you some others. Hang on. Okay, so here's just a few of the things. Uh, and again, this is all just part of the bling box. You pick this stuff up for peanuts. So here's another jacket of mine, and if I show you really closely, it's actually, maybe I can take this off. It's actually, can you see this? Let me show you. Here we go. It's a little, crown. Can you see that? Now that does not necessarily mean that you're into the royal family or something like that. I mean, I'm not. But it could mean I am the best web developer. I'm the king of web developers. It could mean anything you want. And there's all sorts of little symbols. I've got a whole bunch of them. Most of the time, I'm just using just a little shiny crystal. Most of them are like that. But there's all sorts you can use. You can have maybe, let's say, for example, I've had ones that are a lightning bolt, or uh, I've seen some where you'll get a lion's head. That's not my thing, but some people are into that type of thing. You can make it work for you. Um, Anything at all that means something to you. And if I show you, for example, geez, I had one of these engraved. These can be good as well. and you can chuck a little thing on it. I have one that actually has the web developer extraordinaire engraved on it. Here's one that's a really good one that I'm going to probably use tonight. And this is, have a look at this. Does anybody recognize this? Do you recognize this? Have a look. Do you recognize this? I know it's not focused. There we go. Anybody recognize that? My friends, that right there, that is the symbol of the Knights Templar. It dates back to the 11th century. Actually, the 1100s, 1200s, up to the early 1300s. And, you know, I'm not a Freemason or anything like that. But I do know a little bit about the Knights Templar. And I appreciate the history, and I appreciate some of the, I mean, it's like a little tiny touch of mysticism. Enough that only a few people will even get it, you know. I'll give you another great symbol, actually, which is similar, which is another really good one as well that you can go with. And it's the Maltese cross, which is this one here. Okay. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the one here worn by He-Man. It does not necessarily have to mean that you like the Knights Templar or you're a Christian or anything. It can just mean you like He-Man. It can be anything at all. But what we want to do is just stick something on, a little accessory that tells people, now let me get this right. Yeah, we're going to just send a little message out and tell people that there is something going on. So let's chuck this on. Here we go. Now, as mad as it sounds, there we go. As mad as it sounds, that would have kept me safe tonight. Something as simple as that. I hope I have laboured the point enough. Anyway, I said that I had made 2 mistakes tonight. The second mistake I made tonight was a mistake with my voice. When you engage in those types of situations, you don't kind of go, hey, you get. You have to actually lower your voice and go, oh, and go right down there. And I never did that, which was a mistake. About 6 months ago, there was these dipshits in the backs over yonder partying at 1 a.m. And remember, I was talking about doing a favour to society. So everybody's like, oh, well, I guess we've got all these dipshits moved in. I'm the guy who does the favour for society. I got up, must have been even after 1 a.m., and I headed right out into those backs, and I requested very forcefully if they would refrain from playing music out in the backs and singing and all of that at that time of night. And I remember one of them said, oh, what you gonna do about it? And before he could finish his sentence, and remember, I'm out in the pitch black. Look, I'll talk all night about things I'm crap at if it makes you feel good. But I reckon there was 15 of them there, mixture of guys and gals. But it's black. I don't even know who I'm talking to. And I hear, wait, yeah. And I remember saying, oh, punch fucker, you fucking cunt. Like that, you see. Oh, so when you do, you go low, you know. And they have not come back. And after it was finished, I mean, I really, really believe that I'm owed an Academy Award for that performance because it's all completely fake, you know. But it's all part of the game. And once again, society, you're very welcome. Thank heavens there are guys like me. Anyway, that was the 2 mistakes that I made. That's what happened, and that's me done. So, there we go. Have I given you any entertainment tonight? Have we had any value from this? Do you know what's funny? So, here comes Sod Bacco, who says, I don't like the accessories of any king. Yeah, but you can be the king. That's the whole point. I'm not into kings either, but you can be the king, you know, of your own little universe. I mean, I saw this, there's this old timer in the neighbourhood by the name of Peter, and I don't know. He's an old timer, but he's a very sharp dressed dude, you know. And he talks to me, and we say hello. And one time I had this on, he was going, "What's that you got on?" And I says, "Ah, it's just a little something he stuck on." And he looked at it, and he says, "Is that the Knights Templar?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "So you're the Knights Templar?" He says, "Oh, they're a dodgy bunch, them. Knights Templar. You know, they done I know a guy who's Knights Templar, a Knights Templar. I don't know if there's a group called the Knights Templar. He gave me a big old speech. The Knights Templar ended in 1307, I think it was. But he gave me a big speech. Maybe some group out there are calling themselves this. And he said, "Oh, you're watching Knights Templar after what they've had, Knights Templar." And after he finished the whole thing, I said, "Peter, I I'm not any Knights Templar. I just thought it looked cool and I like watching the History Channel. It's no big deal." Just like, okay. So we're not in any way, declaring allegiances to any particular group or anything like that. I'm trying to come up with something, a kind of code that will help people like us to get ahead in life. It's like, those of you who are young enough to go to the club, you've all seen the situation where there's a big queue of people and then one person just shows up and goes right to the front and walks in and the bouncers say, "How you doing?" Wouldn't it be nice if life was like that? That is the aspiration. But maybe I'm a dreamer. I don't know. Anyway, let's have a little look at the comments and we'll see what we got here. So, uh, I want it to be a little okay. We try to send him to Archie Luxury. Forgive me. DC is the new hype superstar of the Archieverse, no doubt referring to Archie Luxury. I have to say, I have grown really fond of Archie Luxury the more I watch him. Straight away, I thought, there's a guy that reminds me of me just a little bit. Um, because I too can play the part of the obnoxious, arrogant character. But the more I watch Archie, the more I find myself laughing, and I think that he's actually a very intelligent person. I mean, I went and wasted, I think, 5 years at uni. One of the biggest mistakes of my whole life was going to uni. Absolute waste of time. I got the degree, but I've never used it, and it was just a total waste of time. It was all bullshit. Wish I never went. But one thing I will say, and it's going to sound really, really snobby, is that you do instinctively somehow recognize somebody who has been through that, who's been through the bullshit academic system. And I knew straight away that Archie Luxury's in that category. I can just tell, little things, um, little things that he'll add that really only somebody who's been through uni would bother about. For example, he'll maybe say something like, "Oh, I watched The Rodent," and he's talking about the urban gentry. And then he'll say something like, he doesn't even add any references. Now that's somebody who's gone through that uni bullshit who's gonna say that. And it's funny how you can kind of tell. So I think he's a smart guy, and I think he's really funny. He's far more funny than me. Um, anyway, let's have a little look at what else we got. Um, how did you find out about this? Hegster would like to. I don't understand. I think there's a couple of typos. Um, Let me see. Is there anything else? The bling box. Ha ha ha. Templars rise up. Let's see what else we got here. DC, what do you think of this watch? What watch? What watch? Great going, DC sir. New name. Ding 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 ding. Shawan Gupta. I know I've got that wrong. Same here for uni. I think the same. I wish I could get time back. Yeah, isn't it funny that? Isn't it funny? What would I have done instead of uni? I would have focused on my web development company. When um, when I was at uni, I started a web development company with my brother, and at that time the web was red hot, really red hot. Um, I've spoken about this often here. And I used to go to lectures at uni and I'd be looking at the clock, just waiting on it to finish. And as soon as the lectures finished, I'd go out with leaflets and I'd dish out leaflets. Would you like a web page? 1 in 10 leaflets converted, by the way. That's what it was like then. Um, and since we're talking about Archie luxury and potentially flexing wealth, I did make four £4,500 on the first day in the first 24 hours in the web development industry. And that's not because I was a genius or charismatic or anything. It was just because it was new. You could go outside, and I actually had the experience of being in a place in London. It was a client of mine by the name of Direct Boot. They're still going, and I was in the queue, and the guy says, "Hey, Charlie, that's the dude who does the websites." And the guy says, "Hold on." And he comes back in with a check and says, "Here, could you do me a site?" Just gives me a check. Uh, the mid 90s up until the 2000s was insane if you were into the business of web development. It was an absolutely insane time. And if I could turn back the clocks, I would have said, "See you later, uni." And I would have focused on that entirely. Instead, I wasted time at uni and I was only halfway involved with the web development stuff. I couldn't apply myself. And I think that was a huge mistake. So that's what I would have done instead of going to uni. Um, these days, I think that the traditional uni system has got an impossible job keeping up with the bleeding edge of technology. I just don't think it's possible. And I reckon that if you show me two IT professionals, one of them who learned at uni and one of them who learned at Udemy, the Udemy guy is going to whoop the uni guy, because the way that unis are structured, it takes a long time for all of that stuff, for new technologies to get filtered through, and curriculums and exams and all of that to get figured out. So unis are generally about 5 years behind the bleeding edge, and it's just not quite good enough, in my opinion. Anyway, that's just me. You don't have to agree with me. Okay, I hope you've had some value from this nonsense. I'll probably delete it because I know that a few of my friends will look at this and thought he has lost the plot. Uni guy. And the last word to Sod Bako, who says, but the uni guy would be able to solve differential equations. Well, maybe so. Thank you very much indeed. And by the way, for any of the watch lovers, and there seems to be one or two here, what do you think of this little beauty? Isn't that fantastic? It's not even ticking, but I picked it up from eBay for peanuts, and I think it's an absolute beaut. It's mechanical. I'll let you hear the alarm. I just, I love stuff like this. Listen to this. Listen to that. Isn't that magical? And have a wee listen. Have a listen to this. Have a listen. Here we go. Isn't that fantastic? Anyway, I just thought I'd show that off. It was really cheap. I mean, it was like, it was an auction, and I got it for £2, and it's made in Germany, and I think it's really cool. It's not a watch, it's a clock. Okay, thank you very much.